That's a Unimog. What the hell, you guys? Do you see that? There's a freaking Unimog in the parking lot. That's insane. And a horse on that side. All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. I really do hate to admit it, you guys, but it's been a minute. It's been far too long since we've driven an American car here at Roads Untraveled. But we have met up with a friend of the show, Dave, and his C7 Z06. Now, David is literally probably, I don't want to start like a competition here, but he's definitely one of the most crazy Corvette fans that I know of. Just an all-around Corvette fanatic. He has owned countless Corvettes in the past and is considering, well, he actually does have an order right now on the future C8 Z06, whatever that ends up looking like. Today, it's all about the C7 Z06. As you guys know, LT4 under the hood, 6.2 liter V8. It's got a Eaton supercharger on it, which from the factory is good for 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Getting squirrely already. Dave is one of those guys that, like, this is not a midlife crisis Corvette. Let's just put it right there, okay? David loves going to the track. As you can see, you guys, the Area 27 sticker on the back there. Local track here in BC, up in Oliver, that I'm sure we will hit later this year in something cool, bring you guys more track footage. But he does hit the track in these cars and he has a lot of experience. So I thought I'd bring him out today. We'll talk to Dave and go over this car and kind of his plans for it.
Name's Dave. It's my C7Z. Last car that we filmed was my C6Z, which unfortunately met its demise in a fire. So this was the replacement for the C6Z, and yeah, we'll do a little walk around, explain to you guys what we got going on, what options we did, and where the car's going. So far, stage 3 aero on the car, carbon hood, carbon roof, comp seats, carbon interior, carbon ground effects for splitter, side skirts, diffuser. As far as performance upgrades go, not a whole lot done so far. Did wheels and tires, so they're an 18 by 11 in the front, running a 315 wide. The rears are a 18 by 13, running a 335 wide on Bridgestone Rivals. So factory tire is a 285 in the front for width, and then the rears from the factory are a 20 by 12 with a 335. So factory sizing for the rear rubber, but stretched on an inch wider rim. Lot of forward bite, lot of turn in versus the factory setup. The factory setup on the C7 really likes to scrub when you turn in hard. It's not like the C5 and the C6. It almost over rotates and actually almost folds the sidewall of the tire over on the C7. So this was my attempt in getting some of that mechanical feel and grip back into the car and not relying on the computers as much. So far it seems like it turns in much better and you get a much better feel of the car.
It is running about 10 to 15% ethanol content right now. Now that is just on a factory tune, factory ECU, running that just to squeeze a little bit more power out of it. The last front engine Corvette, it is official. It is kind of a depressing moment, but it is also why I wanted to get this car out here today. It's one of the first cars I fell in love with, was the Corvette. And just looking at the history of where the car came from, you know, born in 1953, well before the Camaro, over 10 years before the Camaro even existed, the Corvette was a car that GM was producing with a lot of success. Oh, the ventilated seats, yes. Thank you for optioning those, Dave. Are those an option? I don't know. You guys know me, I'm a Japanese car guy, but when I say that the Corvette played a large role in myself getting into cars and loving engines and roaring V8s and shit, like, Yeah. What else? Man, oh man, this one's been fitted with a bunch of carbon, which I absolutely love. Dave and I were kind of joking earlier that, hey, you know, carbon's supposed to be here to save us from the grips of gravity. But with the C7, it's a little bit easier said than done with a car that is not a lightweight car anymore, you know? And that's why I'm so excited to drive Dave's C5 Z06, because that is, I believe I'm correct in saying that is still the lightest Corvette that GM's ever made. So this one's quite a bit heavier. This is like 200-300 pounds heavier than that car. And of course, that comes with modern tech and all that, but the C5's always been my favorite generation Corvette. I know it's not the greatest looking. I frankly love how the C3 looks. I just think that's such a classic shape. But as far as my favorite, I just think the C5 it's the lightest, it's got the most driver involvement. Really crappy build quality aside, you guys, yes, you're gonna have all these plastics just around, and there is a sweet spot with the Corvette, and it's just kind of up to you if you're an American sports car fan to just kind of drive as many as you can get your hands on and kind of see what works best for you.
Right now, I have my C5Z. Car makes, you know, almost 6.5 wheel. I won't get rid of that car. I truly believe that I will keep that car for as long as I humanly can. Yeah, so I've got a C5Z. I've had a C6Z, which met its demise. They are much more of a driver's car. They're more mechanical, heavy inputs, whether it be steering, braking. You truly know what the car is doing and how it's reacting to your inputs. Whereas this, you realize very quickly that computers are involved. You don't get the same feedback in the wheel. You don't get the same feedback in braking. Now it is nice that you get to adjust some of the traction components and some of the suspension components more so than with the C5 and C6. But it takes away a little bit of confidence actually. Like if you're a guy that likes input, it doesn't give you the same security because you're second guessing what you're doing versus the computer. C5, C6 loves trail braking, and you don't even have to put a lot of brake into it, but it does respond really well to trail braking. Whereas the C7, you need to be off the brake pretty quick entering into a corner. Otherwise, it starts to rotate and gives you a really weird transition and balance through the corners. In saying that, if you're somebody who's new to the sport or just getting into it, the nannies or the aids that are in the C7 are a little bit more confidence building than previous generations. And I mean, that just changes with technology and time and everything else. But as a true competitive driver's car, I'll still take the two previous generations over this. Haven't had the opportunity to track a C8 yet. I'm excited to think of what a mid-engine car is going to do on the track, but at the same time, I'm really hoping they bring some of that mechanical feel back to the Corvette.
I mean, talking about sweet spot in the Corvette lineup, you guys, this is my second time driving a C7 Z06, and here, this is why second impressions are so important here. This is the most confused gauge cluster I've seen in my entire life. You've got analog gauges on the left here, you've got analog gauges on the right here, but then you've got this weird digital tag here, and it's like, GM, it's like, are we in the new millennium yet? Are we really becoming a modern sports car? Are we gonna hold on to this analog stuff forever? Like, it's a great looking car, it's a rad car. They did such a good job with the interior here compared to the C6, but some parts of the C7 are still kind of awkward, which just gives me kind of a chuckle. But I've always found American cars give me, you know, they make me laugh sometimes, just with the hilarity that goes into them. Oh yeah. By 1957, the Corvette already had optional fuel injection, okay? Ahead of its time, like I said, okay? 3.9 liter inline six. truck motor, effectively, was the original engine in the 53 Vettes. And it wasn't until later they eventually got V8s. GM already knew that they were capturing something new for the American market with the Corvette, and they just stuck with it, and that's exactly why, 70 plus years later, we're still driving Corvettes, which I think is just rad. And as much as, GM would have loved to keep those die-hard kind of muscle sports car hybrid enthusiasts, I guess we could call them, that want the big V8 up front, they want kind of limited traction in the back because it's kind of sketchy, it's kind of fun. They can only keep those people in their fan base and those hardcore fans for so long. And at a certain point, GM's just got to go, hey, if you're not in with the new, you're not in with the new, right? And the new is well-balanced, angry mid-engine cars that, practically drive themselves, but at least in the Corvette's case, I feel like GM's going to be one of those manufacturers that actually does hold on to what drivers love about Corvettes, which is great feedback, great noise, and a little bit of a feeling of rebellion that comes with pretty much, definitely every Corvette I've driven, for sure. All right, one more pull here, do second gear. It actually hooks up really good. 335s in the back. Wow, okay. Oh my God. Grip though. Even if you want to get the rear end sideways, it really does not want to.
To say that I'm looking for more power out of it, probably not. I might increase ethanol a little bit, but I'm not really after horsepower in this car. If I'm gonna do anything, it'll probably be switching to coilovers and doing a little more suspension work, hoping to get some of that feel back to the car and being able to increase the mechanical grip of it. Under 100 miles an hour, you don't need more power than what this car's got. Yeah, so for those that have been with the channel for a long time, you'll notice from my C6, it had a similar wrap to this, and this is the Corvette Racing logo. This is Jake. So as each generation of Corvette comes out, they update the livery of what the caricature is, and this is the C7R caricature of Jake. Haven't had it down at the ridge yet. I'm definitely curious to get it down there when the border opens up again. It's been on Laguna Seca as well. It's made its way around the US a little bit. Other than that, we'll just see how the borders do and how travel restrictions go, and any tracks that we can hit with it, it'll definitely go to.
Dave got lazy with a C7 apparently, and this is not a manual. It's a 8-speed auto, which is a fine transmission, but in a Corvette collector's garage, I'll cut you a little bit of slack, Dave, here, okay? You own some pretty wicked manual Corvettes, so let's call this, ooh, Challenger, you want to race? Let's call this your GT Corvette, okay? There is still some feeling of, yeah, you're in a GM car, but the C7's absolutely, definitely kind of ahead of its time as far as American sports cars go, and I think ever since 1967, when the first gen Camaro was launched, it's been playing catch up in my opinion. Hate me all you want, but that's where you see the separation. Camaro's a muscle car, Corvette is a sports car. I think the tides have changed. I think the Camaro is now, because it's become such a good track car and such a grit monster, I think the Camaro is just now GM's flagship sports car, and the Corvette will begin to become GM's flagship supercar. That's exactly how this is going to play out over the next 10 to 20 years. I love Corvettes so much. As a Skyline owner, I really hate to admit it, you guys. I hate to admit it. The Corvette's absolutely my favorite American car. And they're, oh my God, I will own one day for sure. Would love to jump into a C5 Z06 one day, or LS swap a C3. I haven't decided yet. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Dave's C7 Z06. Go follow him on Instagram. If you want to keep up with what he's doing, obviously go hit up Area 27 up in Oliver if you want to have some fun on the track this summer. Vancouver Island Motorsports Park as well. That is, you know, all these places are great places with no laws that you can just drive your car at. So there's that. Hit me up on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with what we're shooting on a day-to-day basis. And we've got some really special cars coming up over the next few weeks and going into the summer. So subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss anything going forward. And we'll see you soon.